Good morning.
So, good afternoon.
Good evening.
Wherever you are on our planet. It's a wonderful planet where we're sitting. Hope it is where you are. When you said good morning, it reminded me of that movie, Good Morning, Vietnam. Yeah. Hopefully this will be a more uplifting podcast, although there were moments.
There were moments.
There were lots of moments.
Anyway, today's episode.
Live Like You Were Dying.
Now, that's one of Tim McGraw's songs. If you don't know who Tim McGraw is, Google him. You'll find out that he's a world-renowned country music singer. And I love that song. That someday I hope you get a chance to live like you were dying. Most of us don't live like there's an end date on our shelf life. Now, most of us just figure it's going to keep going. Eventually, it's going to stop. But for the most part, if you look, you don't operate into life like this could be it. So you might as well squeeze the most juice out of this life that you can in this moment. Most of us live like, I'll get through today and there'll be tomorrow. Okay. But when in that song, a fella gets a medical report that says he's got something bad that may terminate his life shortly. And they ask him, well, what did you do when you found this out? And he said, I went skydiving. I went Rocky Mountain climbing. I went 2.7 seconds on a bull named Fu Manchu. Most of us don't operate like what we got is where life is taking place. We figure there's always later. But what if this is it? This is where your life is taking place in this moment. And how you're operating in this moment has everything to do with your level of satisfaction with being alive.
You know, one of the other great parts of that lyric, he talks about how he lived and talked sweeter and gave forgiveness that he'd been denying. You know, forgiveness to others, forgiveness to yourself. You know, you can be so hard on yourself.
Right. What if you are okay in this moment exactly as you are, and you don't need to improve anything, and you don't have to fix anything, you didn't do anything wrong, it all brought you to this moment?
Well, you know, it's been a while since we've talked about the 3 principles of instantaneous transformation.
Well, maybe we should talk about listening first.
Okay.
Because you see, otherwise, we'll start talking about the 3 principles of instantaneous transformation, and the listeners will go, oh, I've heard this before. And they'll tune out. Or they'll think, oh, I know about this. I read a book about this once.
You know, it's interesting. You have chosen to listen to this podcast. It's entirely possible. You listen to hundreds of them. And if you listen more than once, hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of them. And so we've talked about listening. We've talked about the 3 principles. We've talked about similar subjects. But there's life in actually listening to what's happening right now. You can think about listening to birds, but when you actually listen to one, it's a vastly different experience than the concept of bird song.
Right. Anyway, see if you can actually engage in what's being said so it pulls you into the current moment. So you're here listening rather than thinking about what's being said and seeing how it fits in with what you already know. Because if you fit it in with what you already know, you never get anything newly. You only have what you already know. And everything is the same as everything else. And then there's no uniqueness, no magic in life. Anyway, see if you can listen as though it's new information without agreeing with what's being said or disagreeing with what's being said. You might discover that you spend a lot of your life agreeing and disagreeing with how your life is showing up, and it makes no difference in the quality of your experience of living to agree or disagree. But listening does make a difference in the quality of your life. And if you listen, you might discover what that difference is. I'm not going to tell you.
Well, I'm listening to you just now.
Yes.
And I wasn't intentionally breathing deeply, but I discovered as I was listening, I also became aware of my breath. And all of a sudden, my shoulders dropped.
But so interesting about this is during the night last night, I told you this, I was reading an obituary of a Zen master who brought the whole concept of mindfulness into existence. And he talked about getting in touch with your breath, being here for your breath. And when you said that, you demonstrated what he said. So I found that vastly interesting.
And what else you told me is the stillness of the moment, that you're able to access that. When I was younger, I recall a couple of times in particular where my mortality came into focus. And that was in life-threatening situations, like driving as a novice driver on a 2-lane highway where there was really no shoulder and somebody was trying to pass and coming at me in my lane. And it was a very near miss.
And, as you say that, I remember back as when I was like 20 years of age, which is 62 years ago, believe it or not. And I was on a surfboard in Hawaii at a place called Waimea Bay. And this giant wave jumped up behind me. I was expecting it, but I wasn't expecting the fall because the wave hollowed out and it was a free fall event.
Wow.
And it was absolutely either stand up and go down this dive into nothing or else get rolled into that wave as it broke. And I stood up. But you reminded me of that. Now, I don't think I could ever do it today. My coordination isn't quite so good anymore, nor my physicality.
Nor are you a 20-year-old.
That's right.
But it's interesting how it for me, it took that to pull me there.
That's right.
And then later, I experienced it on stage when I created a reality that was complete enough and the audience joined me. And there were those moments of silence when I knew we were there, but it was elusive.
Yeah. And now
it's a lifestyle.
That's right.
And I suspect that a lot of you listeners, it's a lifestyle for you as well. And you may get it and lose it, get it and lose it.
I was going to say that I bet you forget it when you get lost in something that isn't real, like some thought about how to make something happen in the future that you think will make your life better. If you get that, if you make that sale, then everything will work out.
Make that sale, get that job, your child does X, your wife does that,
right.
Get that relationship or
buy that house.
Yeah, all of those things.
Those things that you think are going to, and I use the word think emphatically, you think is going to make you well or satisfied or happy. Happiness. That's interesting. We heard something about happiness recently.
I think we talked about it last week's show, about
yes, we did.
Getting more, double, triple, quadruple what you have now
does not make you any happier. So if you discover how to be happy with what you've got, life is fulfilling. Anyway, we have guests.
Let's take our first one.
Ephraim.
It's going to be so nice to see you, Ephraim.
Hi, Ephraim.
Hey, guys. So So
Where are
great
you
to see you.
from? Good to see you too.
I'm calling in from New Hampshire today. I'm here for normally in Brooklyn, but I'm here for a few days.
Nice. Well, so
And
good of you to join us.
well, I absolutely love the subject of this show. It actually reminds me of the first time I met you guys. Um, not It wasn't exactly about living like you're dying, but just well, before I met you, I was doing a lot of thinking about living,
Mm.
and I just remember meeting you guys and seeing I came to a Monday night at the New Yorker hotel,
Mm.
and I don't remember what exactly you talked about, but I just remember just seeing you and realizing that you guys, there was something about you that you were living your life directly, and you were saying all the right things, but you weren't just saying them, you were living them. And it was exactly what I needed to hear at that point.
What's neat about what you're describing, Ephraim, is what you probably weren't poised to see at that time was you recognized that in us because it exists in you. And you're like, yes, I want that. But I want that only comes because you recognize you have that, but it's been background or dormant.
When Ariel and I lived at a meditation center in northern Italy in the Italian Alps, Ariel one day went off on her own with some other people to uh, a mineral exhibition in Switzerland. And there was a guy there who had this amazing amethyst geode.
I mean, it was huge. It was several feet high. And it wasn't, often you'll see geodes where there are lots of little crystals, but this was one giant, clear, purple amethyst, one big crystal.
Wow.
And there was a picture of this guy when he found it in the jungles of somewhere.
He is all dirty, his
Has
face,
mud all over him.
He's holding it, and you could recognize what it would be someday once it was cleaned up.
But it was all covered in mud.
And it shocked me at that time because I didn't, conceptually, I knew they had to find it somewhere, but I didn't realize the reality of what it took. And in a way, you were just there with your miner's light, still encased in your enculturation, which included you are just this incredibly talented, smart guy who's been really educated. You're an architect. You have just an incredibly facile mind.
And you knew something was missing.
That there was some additional, it's like soup. I made soup today. It tasted kind of, until I added salt. And then it was like, oh man, that tastes really good. Now I didn't add too much because too much, you can't have too much of the moment. But it's similar where you began to recognize there was a whole other possibility that you hadn't quite accessed. You saw in us what was living in you.
Thank you. That's really sweet.
It's also really accurate. I think lots of times people tune into this podcast and they're like, oh man, it'd be nice to be like Ariel and Shya, it'd be nice to be like Ephraim. And they don't recognize that the reason they're experiencing this is it's what's in them that's now coming to the foreground. It's not that we're giving it to you.
That's so cool. I do feel like I am living my life much directly at times, and just working, being involved with you guys, just learning how to learning that I'm the author of my life was really the first thing, and then just that to me that meant that whatever is happening, it's my control, and I'm doing it, and that was a really freeing concept. What I guess one question I have is, when you talk about living like you're dying, I guess sometimes I could actually put a pressure on myself to do more, like to extra engage or something like that. I don't know. And I feel like somehow it it's I need to I like to find not put the ambition into it, but just um
Well,
realize how I can.
the thing is, you're perfect exactly as you are right now. You have the idea that there's a something better in this mythological future that you need to achieve or attain to be okay. But what if you're okay exactly as you are right now? Nothing needed.
Yeah, it's interesting. You talk about this mythological future, and as I look at Ephraim, and I know a little bit of his background for certain, and in this pressure, this ambition, you say, includes your enculturation. So you have a really deep desire, for instance, to provide for and be a really good father. And so I can see how you often put things in the middle of how can I be better? How can I be better? And in that, there's no rest. And in a certain respect, the rest, the quality of being comfortable in your own skin is the best possible thing you can pass on to your child.
Yeah.
But it includes, if you talk about the three principles, it's not making it wrong that you sometimes take what is and stick it into a do mode and try to produce more and engage more or better. Of course you do. We all do that. We all have minds. So we think that we need to be more,
Different,
or better.
right?
And if you're in the midst of a conversation that you need to be more of something or less, if you have to lose weight, or better or different.
Look, we all grew up in a forward-thinking culture or society. And so everybody thinks the future will be better. But you're disregarding this moment. I was with some family members recently, and the youngest of my grandchildren was, well, not really, but in this particular part of the family, he was working on, when he gets a tattoo, his life would begin. You know?
And he's too young to legally get one, so he's trying to finagle
Pressure his mother
to take him to Hawaii because he could get it with parental consent
in Hawaii.
So he was looking.
How old is he?
He's 15. And you can get one legally at 15, but it's, but all around him there's this people with tattoos are cool. So
as if tattoos are something that will give you well-being, happiness, satisfaction, all that good stuff that you search for in life. It comes with a tattoo in an ink bottle. Like if you don't have the ink, you're not in the pink. Who knows? I just found it.
What was interesting was how he was determined to throw away the experience of this moment in hopes of getting what he wanted.
As if what he wanted would somehow fulfill a need in him. Well, the need might be to have some ink under his skin, but it will not fulfill his well-being. It will not make him feel okay about his nose or his back or how much musculature he has. He's a kid right now. But most people are kids in older bodies, and they think something will fix it someday when they achieve, acquire, or get something that is valuable. The only thing that's of any value is this moment. If you're here for your life in this moment, you are wealthy. If you're striving to get what you think you need, it'll never be enough. It's just that way.
Thank you so much.
What you working on?
No, just trying to think of fill space. What am I going to say next?
Well, don't worry about what you're going to say
anything
next. You know what you can do next?
Okay.
Take a breath.
Okay.
Actually,
And let yourself feel the air come in. Now, isn't that
while you're at it,
perfect?
take another one. You deserve more than one.
Yeah, you're allowed.
And know that you're enough. Your experience of you, if you're up, you're down, you're in, you're out, you're enough. This is your moment. You know, that I was going to talk earlier, and then we talked about listening first. The 3 principles. And really, the second principle is the cardinal one, the seminal one. It's that life shows up as it does. That's it. And that's what this obituary was talking about too. Getting that this moment is it. This is it. Now, of course, then we have choice. We have ultimate choice. You can resist what is and you get stuck with it, or you see it, allow it without judging it, and then the next moment, and then the next moment, and the next moment, until there are no more moments, or who knows what happens after that. But in the meantime, there's this possibility of grace, this state of grace that is elusive to most of us. It's interesting because from the last week or so, Shya and I have been really deeply involved in a number of projects. We are recording this prior to going to Costa Rica. We're going to a whole new place. There's whole new sets of protocols. Everything is different. We're working through an agency, all of the details. It's like we've never done it before. And we can get lost in thinking when we get all the details done, or when we get there, life will be better. It's been exquisite being in this time of the unknown and investing and then letting go, so that we'll see a movie or do something that just sweeps us into another moment rather than driving ourselves forward. And I'm really, really happy about that. It's quite great. You can have it all.
There must be a lot of snow up in New Hampshire now.
When it rained in New York, it rained here, so they got a bit of snow, and then it melted. But it's been cold, so they've been making it. And
sweet. Hey, thanks for calling in today.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. Always, it's so great to be with you.
Hey, you want to hear about transformation?
Mm-hmm.
We've got one of our listeners about to tell you about what's happened in their life out of listening to being here.
Mm.
This is Stephanie from Rosengarten, close to Hamburg, and I love transformation and listening to the podcast. Things that seem to be dramatic or difficult in an instant turn into an easy thing that just needs to be handled for me.
Do you want to have well-being with consistency? Connect with people all over the world from the comfort of your own home at Ariel and Shya's lively interactive Living Made Easy virtual seminars. Join any of their 2-hour online events or take a deep dive into the magic of being you at a virtual weekend seminar. Come on, let's connect. Find out more and register at transformationmadeeasy.com.
We have some upcoming seminars this Saturday, next Monday, our next Living Made Easies, and our in-person residential retreat, Being Alive, is later this month, March 24th, 25th, and 26th, here in New Jersey, and you are invited. If you want to do something with us virtually, step into your brilliance.
April 22nd and 23rd.
Also, just please note for those of you who do come on Saturdays, Saturday, March 18th, due to differences in time zone changes, in the US, for the US people only, we will be signing in an hour later, 10 a.m. instead of 9 a.m. On the Eastern time zone. Just wanted to give you the heads up. And I wanted to say one other thing about our virtual seminars, for certain in person as well. But we recently got an email from someone talking about how unexpectedly profound coming to the virtual weekend was, and how within a couple of days she discovered how much she really loved her husband and loved her life. And it was surprising to her, and it continued. And she didn't come because she didn't love her life or didn't love her husband, but she fell into the experience of it. I know Zoom is Zoom, and sometimes we think we're getting tired of it, but it is a profound tool. And if you'd like to step into your brilliance with us, you are invited. We have 2 more guests, so let's take our next one. Judy, welcome to being here.
Thank you for having me. This is Judy. I'm calling in from Manhattan. And I really like this topic of live like you're dying, because sometimes, or even recently, I've gotten like this fear of dying. Like it's somehow in the air for me.
Let's talk about that, because I'm older than you are, right?
Yes.
I'm 82, so apparently, statistically, I'm going to go before you. Okay? You know what I realized?
No, what?
When I die, I won't miss you. I won't miss Ariel. I won't be here anymore to miss anything. So I might as well enjoy living now, because this is where my life is taking place. Worrying about dying, well, I say if you're worrying about dying, you're not looking at something in your life that you want to do, and you're not letting yourself do.
Whatever that may be, whether it's dating, for some people they get this way, rather than step into something else that may seem big for them or ostentatious, or I don't really deserve to come to Costa Rica for 2 weeks. I'm only going to come for 1, or whatever it is in your life. But also, we're recording this pretty much directly after the holidays. And I think with both of your parents having passed away and you feel like you're next in line, that programming.
Or that you have siblings that are next in line.
Like if you touch base with family members who you love and you share a genetic link with,
and they're worrying about dying, you'll pick up their thought processes.
And then you'll worry right along with them. But the telephone both ways. The psychic telephone, the psychic hotline, where if you allow yourself to be okay in yourself, it has the potential of relieving them as well.
You were going to say something just then.
Yeah, I was, so 2 of my brothers live in Pennsylvania, and I was going to go, my niece and her husband are here, and I was going to go down towards the end of the week for my sister-in-law has COVID. So I'm not going, and my brother, it'd be not very good if my brother or either of my brothers get COVID.
Because they have health concerns. Right?
My brother, both of them have serious immunity issues. So, yes.
So yes.
So that
we talk about live like you're dying, and you're actually the engineer today. And we asked you to come on because you were visibly upset. So all of a sudden, you're brothers' lives are in jeopardy due to the potentially in your mind.
Real or imagined a threat to your survival drives you into upset.
But you know what's interesting, Judy? I just took a breath. I don't see you breathing much. And it's like you can either jump into fear or you can feel how much you love your brothers. And it's easier to be fearful than it is to feel this deep well of love because there's the potential of loss.
That makes sense. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I have one thing. It's like I really want to get a doggy. I haven't had a dog in about, 20 years. So, but I have all the reasons why not to, but I really think after Costa Rica, I will get a doggy. I feel like it's actually something in the city because I live in Manhattan. It's almost like a social thing also. You meet other dog walkers.
Well, I hope you allow yourself your heart's desire, my friend.
Yeah. The only problem I have with that is that's like when I get a dog, then I will be well and happy in myself.
Well, talking about it, I'm all for you getting a dog. I love the way it works. But when you're like, I'm gonna get a doggy, there's something
young
there.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it won't solve the thing you're trying to get away from, which doesn't mean you shouldn't get a dog.
I get that.
You can even get a doggy.
Thank you.
Just because I'm curious, do you have a kind that you're hoping to get?
I'll get a rescue, but I like little dogs.
Cool. That's cool. Hey, thanks. I'm glad you're here. You feeling more you now?
Yes, thank you.
You know, keep letting yourself feel, Judy. It's one of the blessings of being alive that we have the potential to feel so deeply.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That was a lovely surprise.
It was.
Let's take our
Next guest.
Kareem, welcome to being here. Tell people where you're zooming in from today.
Hi, I'm calling in from Long Branch, New Jersey, which is down at the Jersey Shore.
Nice.
Yeah, it actually is quite beautiful here today. Sunny and just really delightful. So it is nice.
Quite beautiful if you're there for it. It just sometimes has weather that is stormy or gray or cloudy or
sometimes the weather is the way you would prefer it, so you say it's really beautiful here.
That's true. Yes.
So when I was a kid, I grew up on the beach in Far Rockaway, New York, and I would love to go to the beach when there were hurricanes.
Oh, wow.
Stormy and
so
it was
alive.
Beautiful and alive. Exactly.
Yeah, I really love that our house has big windows and we have woods behind our house, and sometimes it's all foggy and sometimes there are leaves on the trees and sometimes there are no leaves and sometimes it's raining and windy. And what's really wild is to watch the trees, Corinne, and sometimes when it's really windy, the wind goes in corridors. So to the right-hand side, the trees can all just go and bend over, and right in front of us, they don't move, and off to the left, then they move. And then it's like it's not 20-mile-an-hour wind, period. It moves in different patches, and it's really exciting to see.
That sounds so cool. I love that. You're right, because in my house, now that I think about it, I don't really have that even 180 view. So I love hearing that. It's cool.
You have the ocean nearby.
Yes, which is lovely. And it is fun to look at the ocean when it's quiet, when it's crazy, when it's, it's really, really, it's something I never tire of.
But sometimes we'll be sitting in our sunroom. We have an area, it's got high windows, and we can see a little sliver of the sky, and we can see clouds going by, or a bird, or it's just plain blue. It's not only those things that you might identify as fantastic, but they're fantastic if you're there for them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so cool. It reminds me of this sky I saw last night. It was quite cloudy, and then all of a sudden there was just a little patch of clearing, and you could see the bit of sun right before it set, and the whole sky became like pink and blue and magnificent.
You know, it's cool. You can't hold on to it because it comes and it goes, and moment to moment, it's like, and the pink fades, and then it's gray and there's purple. It's just like very.
It's true. That's true.
Did you have a question for us today?
Well, I actually really love the topic, and it was really meaningful to me because this past year, my husband and I experienced two life-changing things. I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and my husband had a car accident that could have been the end. I mean, he ran 50 miles an hour into the side of a UPS truck, but thank God he was fine. And I really believe that participating in your seminars and participating in transformation gave me the opportunity to literally be with what was happening in that moment and not project forward into the future, but just to be, I don't know, really to be with what was going on. And when I was with what was going on, it wasn't as scary as if I started getting off into, what if this, what if that? So
Well,
this has been a gift.
Everybody who didn't know you or doesn't know you and doesn't know your history with two pictures that might be inaccurate. The first is you were diagnosed with breast cancer and you left it at that. So now people are worried that you are dying.
Oh, no. I had the surgery, I had radiation, and I am cancer-free. And I just had an appointment with my regular doctor who hasn't seen me in a year. And he looked at me and he goes, what type of, tell me a little bit about your situation. And I told him, he goes, good news. People who get that, once they have the operation, they're good, because you are good. It was just really sweet.
Great. And the second thing, if I'm not mistaken, it's not that your husband drove 50 miles an hour into the side of a UPS truck, somehow being irresponsible. Didn't the truck blow a stop sign or pull into him when he was in a 50-mile-an-hour lane, and the UPS truck was irresponsible, correct?
That's absolutely true. Yeah, he made an illegal left turn on a dark road.
Yes, but the picture you painted made your husband seem to be lame.
Like he was trying to kill himself or
something. No, okay. All right, thanks.
It's interesting. You said we had two life-changing events. And I just challenge you, Corinne, in the time ahead. I don't want you to work on yourself, because working on yourself doesn't work, of course. But I believe you have a background addiction to drama, and you create it around you, and you create it by commission and omission. Omission, like
you drop out saying that you are treated and I'm cancer free, and
drop out. It was a dark night. UPS truck
blew a stop sign,
and he hit it going 50 miles an hour. It creates a picture that takes care of everybody. And
I'd be willing to bet he wasn't going at 50 miles an hour when he hit the truck. I'd be willing to bet he put his foot on the brake.
Jammed his foot on the brake.
So he may have been going at 50 miles an hour when the incident happened, but the way you express it leaves us worrying about your husband.
No, he's fine. Yeah. But yes, I see what you're saying.
And I'm not sure if part of it is trying to get to your point, which is a really great thing, you know, not having a really long and windy story, but at the same time there's a thing that sets people worrying for you. And I actually think that's part of your familial heritage. You know, if I get them worrying about me, then I will live forever.
Well, drama is definitely in my background. Not the drama that you get paid for, but being dramatic.
And drama is in all of our background.
Yeah. Yeah.
Has been.
Has been. Well,
Mhm.
background.
Yes, it has been. But in this moment, you don't need to bring it into your background.
Or into
Right.
your background, for sure.
Right, right. So the question that I thought about was, we just went on this wonderful family trip down to Orlando, and we were in Disney World. And I love it, and we had the best time. And yet there are certain rides that I didn't want to go on. These are the drop rides that had big drops, and the rides where there was like a lot of shaking and, you know.
So what's the
wrong?
problem?
So the problem, well, there probably is no problem.
I
But
mean, what's the
in my
problem?
mind, like I used to push myself to do this, like you need to go on that ride to prove something. And this time I just said, I don't want to go. I just didn't want to go. And so when I listen to Live Like You're Dying, it's like, am I being too careful, too cautious? You know,
No, you'll have to look at that yourself.
Well,
You know, I don't do things that are dangerous just to do dangerous things. Like I'm not riding a bull, you know? I don't have to go 2.7 seconds on a bull named Fu Manchu.
I think that the purpose of that song, now, first of all, it's a song. It's like worrying about a character in a novel. It's a character. I can't imagine that character would have gone bull riding if it was not something they were desirous of, that they'd been withholding from themselves. That's very different than pushing yourself to do things that you don't enjoy to prove to yourself that you're not a frightened person or that you're fully engaged or whatever the thing is. I personally don't enjoy, in general, roller coasters or things that shake me. It bothers my body. It bothers my. I don't find it fun. So
But
why?
if you're asleep, as in walking around lost in your thoughts, then something like that gets you pretty much awake, you know, brings you more
It's
into
like-
the current
It's like
moment.
imitation almost dying, so it wakes you up. Now there are people who they just love that. That
They
is
thrive on it.
not because they're asleep. We have a friend, Sharon, who puts on a squirrel suit, jumps out of an airplane, and flies. And very close to the bottom has a parachute. But he flies his body because it's his passion, and he personally gets really silent inside doing it. It's his passion. It is not mine. I don't intend to do that anytime soon. And I don't have to do it to prove to myself that I have lived.
Or how brave we are.
okay, great. Cool.
You know, it's so easy to take anything and turn it into a
Do.
or a religion or a system. A better me would go on the roller coaster. I'll bet you while your family members went on that roller coaster, you went into a gift shop or you looked around or you people watch and you were totally delighted doing what you're doing.
Absolutely. No, that's very true. I was. And how do you know? I went gift shopping and looking around, and I did have a very nice time. And I didn't get any pressure from anybody, but when I was sitting here,
Oh, you had pressure from you. Otherwise, we
That's
wouldn't be
true.
having this conversation.
So true. That's so true.
You
If
know,
it- yeah,
it's a free principle thing, you know, in that moment you said, no, I don't want to go. And then after the fact, you're second guessing yourself. You couldn't have chosen anything different but what you did. And if you go to Orlando and you go to Disney World again, you can look and see what you want then, but not based on I did it wrong. Because then everything is a pendulum swing of doing what you didn't do before because you're trying to make it right.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. And it's really delightful to see both of you. Really.
Thank you. Nice to see you too. Really.
Yeah.
You know, and I know that we'll be seeing you soon and in Costa Rica.
Yes. Yes.
Time this airs, it's highly likely that Costa Rica 2024 will be open, and you can go to our website transformationmadeeasy.com if you'd like to join us and find out the details. Of course, attending a seminar either virtually or in person is
A weekend
prerequisite.
seminar.
That way we know we all play well together.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds great.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate you being here with us.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, if you'd like to be a guest like Corrine or Judy or Ephraim, you're welcome. If you want to submit a listener spotlight, you can do that too. Just go to transformationmadeeasy.com/being here and find out how.
Yes.
Next week's episode, Serendipity Fiesta.
And we'll find out what that means next week.
All right. So we'll be back next week. won't we?
So come on back.
And don't miss
Being
being here.